When the world slowly drifts into silence, there remains a space still lit, where sleepless minds search for peace amid the chaos. Lucid dream, sleep and science. Stories was born from that space, a journey that connects the science of sleep with the art of stillness. Here, we tell bedtime stories for adults, those who carry worries, dreams, and the longing for true rest. Each episode is a journey through profound life philosophies from Stoicism, Carl Jung and Eastern philosophy, scientific discoveries about sleep, the subconscious, and emotions, gentle, wave-like storytelling that guides you across the threshold between waking and dreaming. We don't sleep to escape the world. We sleep to meet ourselves again. Lucid dream is not merely a place to relax, but a space for rest with awareness, ngingoi koi thuk, because sometimes sleep itself is the deepest philosophy of life. Learning to let go so the mind may be at peace. Let every night be a journey, and every dream a quiet sanctuary of the soul. When the day closes and the last lights on the street fade away, the world enters a rare moment of stillness. No more familiar sounds, no cars, no voices, no notifications ringing incessantly. Only the breath of the night remains, steady and hazy. In that moment, one may think they are resting, but in truth, only the body sleeps. The mind stays awake. The night is a mirror reflecting the soul. As the outer light retreats, the inner light begins to glow. That is when the thoughts, suppressed throughout the day, arise, softly, yet impossible to ignore. A word that brings regret, an unfinished decision, a hollow feeling without a name. We believe that silence makes everything fade, but in truth, it is silence that amplifies the inner voice. Like a lake that only reflects the sky when the wind stops blowing. The mind can only see itself when it stops running. The Stoics once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Seneca, suffering does not come from events themselves, but from how we perceive them. By day, in the rush of work and noise, we easily forget this. But at night, when all fades away, we hear it clearly again. Thoughts begin to repeat like an old tune. Sometimes they come as small but persistent questions. Am I living the right way? Am I wasting my time? Do they still think of me? No one answers. Only the mind converses with itself. And that is when the true inner journey begins. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. When we look outward, we dream. When we look inward, we awaken." Perhaps that is why sleepless nights feel strangely precious. For they are rare moments when we sit with ourselves, without masks, without noise, without performance. The night is an honest friend. It says nothing, only stays beside us, allowing us to see ourselves more clearly. Stillness is not as empty as we imagine. It is filled with things yet unfelt. The small emotions forgotten during the day, the dreams that never bloomed, the memories that once made us smile, then quietly ache. Perhaps it is in darkness that we finally see our own light. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. The night helps us realize that power. When we cannot control the outer world, we can still choose how to see, how to breathe, how to feel. Silence is not an escape. It is a form of courage, the courage to face the echoes of our soul. And then we understand the things that seem terrifying in our minds are merely shadows. They fade once we sit still and look directly at them. Like entering a dark room, at first the blackness frightens us. But if we stay a little longer, our eyes adjust, and we see that there was nothing to fear but our own fear itself. The night is a gentle invitation to return inward. It does not ask us to be perfect, only to be honest. For only when we stop, listen, and accept can peace begin to dwell within us. Perhaps it is in the very moment we stop struggling against the noise that we truly hear the deepest voice within. It is no longer the echo of the outer world, but the steady rhythm of the mind. Small, continuous, unending streams. By day, our minds are like a marketplace. People come and go, sounds overlap, no thought stays long enough. But when night falls, that marketplace dissolves. Only fragments of dialogue remain, unfinished conversations with ourselves. We often think silence is meaningless emptiness. Yet in that silence, the mind speaks in its own language, a nameless anxiety, a fleeting image from a distant memory, an old dream touched once more, then gone. They come like a gentle rain, falling endlessly. And if we are patient enough to listen, we will realize no thought is ever without reason. They are simply seeking acknowledgement, to be seen, to be understood, and to be released. Seneca once wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." When we worry about things that have not yet happened, we are doubling our own suffering, and the night, strangely enough, is when people tend to do that the most. We think we are resting, yet within we are still fighting. We do not battle against the world, but against our own thoughts. Each time we try to suppress an idea, it returns, stronger, demanding to be heard. It is like trying to sweep away smoke with your hands. The more you stir, the more it swirls around you. There is an image Carl Jung once used to describe the mind. He called the unacknowledged part the shadow of the soul. A shadow does not disappear when we avoid it. Only when we shine a light upon it does it become less frightening. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung enlightenment does not come from imagining the light, but from recognizing the darkness. And the night is the sacred space for that journey. Perhaps that is why many people only truly understand themselves when they cannot sleep. In those weary hours past midnight, when the world falls silent, our mind becomes an echoing chamber. And each echo is a part of us that has yet to heal. It is not weakness. It is simply the mind seeking a chance to be heard. If we can change our perspective, the night no longer feels frightening, because every sigh, every returning memory, every seemingly meaningless thought, they are all signals, invitations saying, "Stop, sit down, and listen to me." In the light of Stoic philosophy, one cannot control what happens, but one can choose how to respond. The night does not come to unsettle us, but to offer an opportunity to return to ourselves. When we stop fearing the dark, we begin to see the beauty within it, like the gentle glow of a distant star or the rhythm of our own breath. Stillness, when we know how to look, is not an enemy, but the kindest of teachers. And so, in the vastness of the night, we begin to realize we are not truly alone. Our mind does not wish to harm us. It only wishes to be understood. Like a child crying for an embrace, our thoughts only want to be seen gently, without judgment, without pressure. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Marcus Aurelius. The tolerance the Stoics spoke of is not only for others, but also for ourselves. For if we cannot be gentle with our own mind, nowhere in the world can truly bring us peace. There is something people often forget. The mind was not made to hurt us. It is trying to protect us. Each time an old memory resurfaces or a worry slips into our sleep, it is not the mind trying to disturb us. It is warning us something within still needs healing. The night, therefore, is when the mind works most intensely. When all external stimuli fade, the deepest part of the brain, the emotional center, begins its quiet labor. Neuroscientists call this mental housekeeping, the process by which the brain reorganizes memories, sorts emotions, and discards the unnecessary fragments of thought. We may seem still, yet in the dark, a silent mechanism is at work, meticulous and patient, like a craftsman tidying forgotten drawers of memory. The mind is like water. When it's turbulent, it's difficult to see. When it's calm, everything becomes clear. The mind, like water, reflects truth only when it is still. Thus, the stillness of the night is not a terrifying void, but a chance for the mind to become clear. When we stop forcing or labeling our emotions, everything naturally settles. Like sitting by a river, simply observing its flow, we do not need to touch it, nor stop it. Many believe that stillness means escape, but in truth, stillness is an intentional act. It is the moment we choose not to resist, not to flee, but simply to see. In Stoic philosophy, this is the first step toward inner mastery, self-command. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. If something causes you pain, the suffering lies not in the thing itself, but in how you perceive it." When we understand this, our relationship with the long nights begins to change. Instead of fearing them, we can see them as an invitation to sit, to breathe, to observe what arises. No judgment, no pushing away, no clinging. There is a strange kind of peace. It does not come from everything being fine, but from ceasing to resist. Like when we stop struggling in the water, the body floats on its own. Peace works the same way, or why it does not need to be created. It only needs to be unhindered. Carl Jung called this the process of individuation, the journey of becoming oneself. Not through control, but through acceptance of the whole, both light and shadow, both strength and fragility. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. Carl Jung in Stillness. When we look at ourselves without the mask, we begin to understand that every emotion has its place. Anger is not wrong, sadness is not bad, fear is not shameful. They are all signals, like lights on the dashboard of the mind, reminding us that something needs our attention. And in the moment we stop running, peace quietly enters. Not loud, not intense, just a gentle presence, like someone softly placing a hand on your shoulder and whispering, "It's okay. Just breathe." The night, in its silence, teaches us that we do not need to fight the darkness. For light does not oppose the night, it simply exists. When we learn to observe and to breathe, the mind softens like the calm surface of a lake. And there, in that simple moment, we hear what we often forget during the day, the sound of ourselves. When we begin to truly hear our inner voice, something miraculous happens. Our fears begin to shrink, not because they vanish, but because we have stopped resisting them. We remain who we are. Only now we choose to see through the light of understanding instead of the shadow of fear. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. Happiness of your life depends on the quality of the thoughts you nurture. That sentence, when it echoes in the night, feels tender because we realize the mind can be a refuge. It does not have to be a battlefield. When we stop trying to control our thoughts, they grow gentle. We are no longer swept away by chaos, but learn to sit by the riverbank, watching the current flow. That is the essence of stillness and our mindfulness, not to stop thinking, but to observe with gratitude. The night is the most patient teacher. It teaches us how to let go, how to move in the slow rhythm of nature. It rushes nothing, judges nothing, quietly reminding us that everything comes and goes in its own time. Try listening to the night, not with your ears, but with your heart. Do you hear the soft wind? The beating of your heart? or just the silence itself, wrapping you like a wordless lullaby. They are all sounds of life. With every breath we realize we are still here. There are nights when we feel empty, as if all meaning has dissolved. But within that emptiness lies the opportunity to fill ourselves anew. If the day is for doing, the night is for being. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living. A life without reflection is not worth living." Yet, in the modern world, where everything spins too fast, we rarely have time to truly reflect. And the night, in its compassion, gives that space back to us. When we sit in the quiet of night, with nothing but our breath and ourselves, a different feeling begins to bloom. Gratitude. Gratitude for still being able to breathe. Gratitude for having the chance to understand ourselves. Gratitude for resting in a world that never stops moving. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Gratitude transforms what we have into enough. It is not merely a comforting idea, but a truth of consciousness. Because when we look around and realize we are still alive, still able to feel, to think, to love, we already have more than enough. Night is the hour of balance, of letting go of what we cannot control, and gently embracing the small things we once overlooked, like the warmth of a cup of tea or the faint glow of a bedside lamp. They remind us that peace is never far away. It lives quietly within every simple moment. Stoicism does not teach people to be cold. It teaches us to love life by accepting it fully. The joy and the sorrow, the light and the shadow. It is impermanence itself that makes each second precious. When we understand this, the mind stops struggling, the body softens, and the night is no longer something to fear, but a ritual of returning to oneself. We begin to see beauty even in imperfection. We find peace in absence. We feel lightness when there is nothing left to prove. Accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. To accept what is, release what was, and trust what will come. This is not advice, but the natural rhythm of life, like night following day, like inhaling then exhaling, and in the moment we truly grasp this, we realize stillness is no longer a destination. It is the journey. There is a moment in the night when everything suddenly becomes crystal clear. No more chaotic thoughts, no whispers of anxiety, only the steady rhythm of breath and a silence that spreads like a thin mist. That moment does not come from effort, but from the ceasing of effort. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Lao Tzu, when we realize that nothing is missing, the world becomes whole. That saying, when heard in the dark, feels like a blessing. For all seeking in the end returns to one point: peace. The night is no longer a trial, but a refuge. The mind is no longer an enemy, but a companion. And sleep, the most natural thing of all, now carries the profound meaning of conscious surrender. The Stoics taught rest as discipline. Rest is a form of discipline. It is not merely stopping, but resting with awareness, knowing that we are loosening, healing, and returning to our inner source of energy. Human beings cannot keep running. We cannot carry endless worries, unfinished conversations, or unanswered questions through every night. The night comes so that we may set them down. Set down the weary self, the expectations, the uncontrollable things. When we truly release, the body and mind find their natural rhythm again. Slow, steady, and gentle. Like a river clearing after rain, muddy then pure. Like the sky after a storm, clouds disperse, winds soften, and the moon appears. Memento mori. Remember that you will die, not to inspire fear, but to remind us to treasure each passing moment. Death does not lessen the value of life. It sanctifies every breath. In the stillness of night, we can touch that truth, the feeling of being alive, wholly and sincerely. No applause, no spotlight, just the quiet knowing that to feel, to love, to rest is enough. Let yourself breathe. Let your body drift into sleep like a child in the arms of the universe. No need to force, no need to hurry to fall asleep. Just allow, let it be. The Beatles, 3 simple words, but the essence of serenity. For sometimes the best thing we can do is nothing at all. When the mind grows calm, we realize that stillness is not emptiness, but the background music of life itself. It is not loud or intense, yet if we listen closely, we will find the whole universe within it, the heartbeat, the sound of the wind, and the moonlight touching the earth like a gentle hand. And then, in the final breath before sleep, we smile softly, because we know we no longer need to search for peace. Peace has always been here, in every breath within ourselves. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius, the calmer the mind, the nearer it is to strength. That is the final gift of the night, strength through stillness. And so, amid the tender darkness, the mind begins to close its many doors. What is unresolved can wait until morning. Now there is only one thing left to do: rest. The night is ready to embrace us. Let yourself fall gently, slowly, like the last leaf descending onto a still pond. No more striving to understand, no more trying to control, only stillness. Simple, yet full. And within that stillness, we hear our own voice whisper, "It's okay." You can rest now. Perhaps after long nights of inner dialogue, we begin to understand one truth: we do not always need to conquer the mind. Sometimes we only need to befriend it. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Aristotle, to know yourself is the beginning of wisdom. That simple sentence, after thousands of years, has never lost its power. For humanity, from ancient times until now, has been ceaselessly seeking the answer to the same question. Who am I? We often search for ourselves through the eyes of others, through our work, through the things we own. But when the outer world quiets down and we are left alone, we realize that there is another self waiting to be seen. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look. Look deep within yourself. There lies a source of strength that will always rise if only you keep looking." That is the common ground between the Stoic philosophers and Carl Jung. That strength does not come from avoiding the darkness, but from understanding and accepting it. Jung called the unacknowledged part within us the shadow self. It is not evil, merely the part we have not yet faced. Like rooms locked for too long, they may hold dust, but also treasures we have forgotten. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung, until we bring the unconscious to light, it will steer our lives and we will call it fate. To understand ourselves, we do not need to dig like scientists. We only need to observe as a friend would. Sit quietly in stillness. Do not push your thoughts away. When they come, greet them. When they leave, smile. Like water carrying silt. When we stop stirring, the water clears on its own. The Stoics called this apatheia, a state of mind undisturbed by external events. It is not indifference, but the ability to stand firm amid the storm, like an ancient tree in the forest, not because the wind weakens, but because its roots grow deep. Self-understanding works the same way. We cannot wait for the world to be calm to find peace within. We must learn to create it amid the noise of life, and to do that we must converse with ourselves, not through logic, but through kindness. Try asking yourself, what is it that truly tires me? What do I really need right now? If I treat others with kindness, why do I forget to offer the same to myself? Socrates once said, "To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom, but to know oneself is not an act of intellect. It is an act of courage. The courage to look at one's own wounds and gently say, I understand. You've tried your best." When we learn to speak to ourselves in that voice, we no longer feel alone. Because within us there is someone listening, someone understanding, and someone accepting. The night, in its quietness, becomes the sacred space for that conversation to unfold. Not for judgment, but for connection. Not for correction, but for understanding and forgiveness. There are sorrows that do not need to be explained, only to be heard. There are memories that do not need to be erased, only to be seen in a new light. And there are parts of us, even those that once hurt us, that still deserve to be loved. Just as much as any other, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung, the greatest privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not the self the world expects, but the whole, honest, and peaceful self. And when we understand ourselves, we stop seeking validation from others. We know that we are enough. Not perfect, no, but enough. Not because we've become better than anyone, but because we've stopped trying to become someone else. Understanding oneself is not a destination, it is a journey, a quiet one without a map, guided only by honesty. Many fear silence because in silence they begin to hear themselves. But to understand oneself is first and foremost to have the courage to stay within that silence, not to flee, not to fill it with noise, notifications, or meaningless conversations. Silence is not empty, it's full of answers. Silence is not empty, it is full of answers. When we sit in stillness, we realize that the mind is like a room with many doors. Each thought knocks on a different one. Some doors lead to peace, others lead to fear. But the miracle is this: we can choose which door to stay at. That is the mastery Marcus Aurelius once spoke of. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. We hold power over our own minds, not the external world. Once we understand this, we stop letting the world define our emotions. We cannot stop the wind from blowing, but we can learn to stand steady. We cannot forbid the rain from falling, but we can choose the attitude with which we walk through it. To know oneself is to learn to choose response over reaction. Each time the mind grows noisy, pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? Don't rush to answer with logic. Let emotion speak first. Often, emotion only needs to be acknowledged before it naturally dissolves. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What we resist will persist. And what we accept will naturally fade. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the first step toward understanding. When we accept sadness, we open the door for peace to enter. When we accept exhaustion, we give ourselves permission to rest. There is a simple way to befriend oneself: writing. Not to write beautifully, nor for anyone to read, but to illuminate the inner world. Because when words begin to flow, the chaos in the mind slowly becomes clear. Words do not heal on their own, but the act of writing helps us listen to ourselves. Writing is thinking on paper. Writing is thinking on paper. When we write, our worries take shape. And once they are visible, we can look at them with gentler eyes, like taking a stone out of your pocket. You still carry it, but it no longer weighs you down. After writing, breathe. Breathe deeply, slowly, and consciously. Sleep science has shown that when we regulate our breathing, the brain releases GABA, a neurotransmitter that calms neural activity. Inhale through the nose. Feel the air flow through your lungs. Exhale through the mouth. Let go of everything you no longer need to hold. Breathing is the simplest way to tell your body, it's okay, you are safe. When breath and thought find their slow rhythm again, the mind becomes like a calm lake. And on that still surface, you can see your true reflection each day, unmasked, unforced. Understanding yourself is not a single act. It is a daily process repeated in the smallest of moments. When you notice your stress and allow yourself to pause. When you feel sad and know how to comfort yourself. When you fail and still smile softly, saying, "It's okay, I still have another chance." Be patient with yourself. Nothing in nature blooms all year. Be patient with yourself. No flower blooms all year round. To understand yourself is to accept your natural rhythm, the light and the dark, the strength and the fragility. And one day you realize you don't need perfection to find peace. You only need honesty with yourself. When we begin to understand ourselves, we also learn to listen to the world with a quieter heart, because humans and nature have never truly been separate. Our minds move with the same rhythm as the universe. When the sun sets, we tire. When the wind softens, we grow calm. But living too fast, we forget that rhythm once lived within us. Nature is the mirror of the soul. Watch how a leaf falls, unhurried, unforced. Watch how a stream bends around a rock, soft yet steadfast, finding its own path. In those moments, we learn the lesson of surrender, go with the flow. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Lao Tzu, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. It sounds simple, yet it holds the wisdom of a slow, intentional life. To understand oneself is like understanding nature. It cannot be rushed. We cannot command a tree to bloom, just as we cannot force peace when storms still rage within. All we can do is create the conditions for peace to bloom naturally. Try sitting in a quiet afternoon. No phone, no music. Let the soft light rest on your skin and feel your breath move through every cell. No need to think positive, just be there, fully present. That is the moment you truly meet yourself again, unhurried, unguarded. The Stoics called this living according to nature. Song Thuan Theo Tu Nhien. Not abandoning the world, but living so that the soul moves in harmony with the rhythm of all things. When we live this way, even the smallest details become meaningful. The sound of rain, the scent of earth after a storm, the moonlight glimmering through a window, all are gentle messages from life itself. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, the soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts. If we think with peace, the world softens around us. If we look with love, everything feels lighter. In a world that runs too fast, to choose slowness is an act of courage. Not because we give up, but because we choose to see clearly. Amid 1,000 noises, we choose to hear our breath. Amid arguments, we choose silence. Amid countless fears, we choose trust in life. When we understand ourselves, we begin to understand others. We realize everyone carries their own quiet worries, their own unhealed places. And so instead of judging, we begin to empathize. We no longer need to say, I understand you. Our eyes, our silence already say enough. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Plato, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. In truth, understanding oneself is the beginning of compassion. Because when we learn to listen to our own pain, we also learn how to listen to the pain of others. And on that journey, we realize something profound. No one is ever truly alone. There are only souls that have yet to find the same frequency to meet, like the night, seemingly quiet, yet full of whispers, like the mind, seemingly tangled, yet simply finding its rhythm again. Self-understanding does not separate us from the world. It helps us connect to it more deeply. When the mind is calm, we see beauty in what once seemed ordinary, the light glinting on a cup of tea, the warmth of a soft blanket, or just the brief touch of the wind on our shoulder. And we smile, because in that moment we know we are alive, and that is enough. Peace is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to remain calm within it. Peace is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to stay calm within it. And when we reach that state, simplicity becomes a luxury, and stillness becomes an art of living. After we learn to listen to ourselves, something natural happens. We begin to feel lighter, not because all the wounds have disappeared, but because we no longer run from them. When we dare to sit with our pain, we've already walked halfway through healing. Healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It all means the damage no longer controls our lives. Healing does not mean the wound never existed. It means it no longer rules our lives. We've spent so many years blaming ourselves for mistakes, for if only moments, for times we thought we should have done better. But perhaps what we really need isn't another trial in our mind. It's an embrace. Try, in the quiet of night, to gently place your hand over your heart and say, "I forgive myself." You don't need to feel certain that you deserve it. You don't need to justify it. Just say it with sincerity. Forgiving yourself is not weakness. It is the bravest act of a mature soul. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Don't waste time debating what a good person should be. Just be one." And to be good doesn't always mean to be perfect. It simply means being able to admit mistakes, to rise again, and to continue with kindness. Kindness begins not from action, but from one's attitude toward oneself. When we understand that we are only human, capable of error, fatigue, and stumbling, we become gentler with others. Judgments fade, comparisons lose their hold. Instead, we begin to cherish the small things, a smile, a quiet morning, a moment free from striving. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Gratitude, though it sounds simple, is one of the most powerful states of mind. When we are grateful, the sense of lack dissolves. The mind stops demanding and begins to see. Try a small ritual before sleep. Think of 3 things you are grateful for today. They don't have to be grand. A warm cup of water, the afternoon sunlight, or someone who smiled at you. Each small thing is a brick in the home of inner peace. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." No one is more unhappy than he who has never faced hardship, for he has never had the chance to know who he truly is. Adversity, when seen through the eyes of philosophy, is a gift, for only through sleepless nights do we learn the value of a peaceful morning. Only through tears do we feel the weight and the comfort of an embrace. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. When we understand this, we are no longer bound by the past. We know that each day is a chance to return to a purer self. Not a better self by anyone's standard, but a truer, freer, and more grateful one. And then, in the stillness of night, we softly realize to understand oneself is also to love oneself. Not a selfish or boastful love, but a love of acceptance, a love without conditions. Love yourself first, and everything else falls into line. Lucille Ball, love yourself first, and everything else falls into place, because when we know how to love ourselves, we stop waiting for others to complete us. We learn to hold ourselves, to comfort our minds when they grow tired, to forgive when we stumble. That love is not loud, but enduring, like a heartbeat like breath, and beneath the gentle moonlight, we come to see a simple yet profound truth. Everything we once sought in others has always been within us. When we are brave enough to look inward, to listen, to forgive, to give thanks, something miraculous happens. The mind becomes still. Not because thoughts vanish, but because we no longer fear them. We realize that the noise in our heads is only the wind passing through the garden of the soul. And we are the one sitting beneath the tree, simply watching. When you make peace with yourself, you make peace with the world. Mahagosananda, when we make peace with ourselves, we make peace with the world. All conflicts in life begin within. When our minds are chaotic, the world feels chaotic too. But when we can sit quietly with ourselves, everything gradually settles, like dust after the wind. Socrates once said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." An unexamined life is not worth living. But reflection is not self-blame, it is the journey back to awareness. It is when we ask, "Who am I?" when no roles are left to play. And in that moment of solitude, when we no longer need to be anyone, we see. We are not our roles, not our expectations, not our mistakes. We are the one observing them with compassion. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung, the greatest privilege of life is to become who you truly are. And to become yourself, sometimes you only need to stop trying to be someone else. Stop comparing, stop competing, stop judging. Just be like a branch swaying in the wind. Simple, but complete. Imagine this. Each night, before sleeping, you sit quietly for a few minutes. No phone, no plans. Just listening to your breath. Just thanking yourself for making it through another day, with all its mistakes, efforts, and love. Perhaps that is the simplest form of meditation, the meditation through gratitude. Marcus Aurelius once reminded, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts. If we think in peace, the world around us takes on the hue of peace. When we truly know ourselves, we no longer wish to escape loneliness. For loneliness is no longer emptiness. It is the space where we meet our deepest self. It is no longer fear, it becomes a friend. A quiet, loyal friend, always there when all other sounds fade. There is a beautiful concept in philosophy, friendship with the soul. When we learn to listen to it, to care for it, to speak to it as we would to an old friend, we no longer feel lost in this world, because we have finally come home. The most powerful relationship you will ever have is the relationship with yourself. Steve Marabolita. Most powerful relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. To understand and befriend yourself is not a short journey. It is a path with no final destination, yet every step brings a deeper sense of peace. Each time we choose silence over judgment, we move forward. Each time we choose understanding over resistance, we heal another part of ourselves. And then, when night falls in the stillness of our room, we smile softly. Not because we have found all the answers, but because we no longer ask too many questions. Not because we have changed, but because we have learned to accept ourselves as we are. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Buddha peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. When we truly understand this, we realize stillness is no longer frightening. Loneliness is no longer emptiness. And the self is not something to be fixed, but something to be loved. So tonight, before falling asleep, whisper softly, just for yourself, I am here, I am enough, I am at peace. Then close your eyes, let your breath guide you through the light and shadow of your mind. There is nothing more to search for, for everything you need is already within you. When we finish writing, the mind may calm, but the body still carries the hurried rhythm of a long day. To truly return to ourselves, we enter the second ritual, breathing. Breath is the simplest miracle the universe has given us. We breathe from the moment we are born until the moment we complete this journey. Everything else may pause, thoughts work, emotions, but breath never does. It is the thinnest yet strongest thread connecting us to life. Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Mindful breathing is my anchor. When the mind is noisy, when the heart feels heavy, the only thing we need to do is breathe. No advanced technique required. Just awareness on what I'm inhaling. I am exhaling. That is the moment when body and mind return to the same place. Like two old friends reuniting, needing no words. Scientists call the breath the biological bridge between the brain and the body. Each deep breath activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The heart slows, blood pressure steadies, and the brain releases chemicals of safety: serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. Just slow breath, and the entire body begins to change. The mind is the king of the senses, but the breath is the king of the mind. The mind is the king of the senses, but the breath is the king of the mind. When we focus on the breath, we teach the mind how to stay in the present. No longer pulled by the past, no longer lost in the future. Only this moment remains, the only place where life truly happens. Try inhaling deeply. Feel the cool air enter your nose, touch your lungs, and expand the space within. Hold it briefly as if embracing life itself. Then exhale slowly, feeling tension leave the body. Each exhale is a letting go of what no longer needs holding. Let go of fear, of expectations, of the need to control. When we breathe this way, we are not only nurturing the body, but healing the mind. Because breath is the language of the body, and the body always knows how to return to peace, if only we listen. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Nowhere can one find a quieter, more peaceful retreat than within their own soul. Breath is the doorway to that place, a space inside where there is no noise, no judgment, only life unfolding gently. If you cannot sleep, do not force yourself to. Just breathe. Inhale, knowing you are alive. Exhale, knowing you are resting. Sleep will come like a gentle guest when your inner home is calm. Inhale peace, exhale chaos. Inhale peace, exhale chaos. That is the second ritual of stillness, the ritual of life. No candles needed, no ceremony, just the breath, the companion that has been with us since the beginning. Inhaling, we return to ourselves. Exhaling, we open to the world. And in each breath we learn a simple truth. Peace is not a destination, but every moment we pause to breathe. There is a moment, after we set the pen down and slow our breath, when the world seems to change. Not because anything outside has shifted, but because our gaze has softened. That is when gratitude appears, as gentle as moonlight through the window, as warm as a quiet breath. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. We don't need everything to feel happy, only the openness to see what we already have. And the miracle is this: the more grateful we become, the more alive we feel. When the mind is noisy, we often forget how much we've been given. The breath still flows. The heart still beats. The body still carries us through each day in silence. We don't need to search for miracle. Our very existence is one. Acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance. Eckhart Tolle, recognizing. The good you already have is the foundation of all abundance. Gratitude doesn't ask us to deny difficulty. Instead, it allows us to see beauty even within imperfection, pain, and challenge. Because those very things have helped us grow, have given us the chance to understand ourselves more deeply. Seneca once said, "A wise man is content with his lot. Whatever it may be, a wise person is content with their portion." Whatever it may be at night when everything quiets down, try thinking of 3 small things you're grateful for today. It could be a friend who listened, a warm cup of tea, or simply this moment that you can breathe, exist, and feel the world around you. As we practice gratitude, the mind begins to change how it sees. It no longer fixates on what is missing, but notices the abundance in every breath. Science calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself through habit. When we practice gratitude, the brain releases dopamine and serotonin, creating natural happiness, reducing anxiety, depression, and stress. It's not happiness that brings us gratitude. It's gratitude that brings us happiness. It's not happiness that brings gratitude. It's gratitude that brings happiness. When we are grateful, simple things become precious. The cool touch of water on the lips, the light of dawn, the whisper of wind on the skin. Everything becomes a reminder. We are alive, and that is enough. Gratitude is how we balance reflection and acceptance. Reflection helps us understand ourselves. Acceptance allows us to forgive ourselves. When the two meet, gratitude arises, the harmony between thought and feeling. The more grateful I am, the more beauty I see. Mary Davis, the more grateful I am, the more beauty I see. If we are grateful for what has passed, even the wounds, we will see that every pain was once a teacher. If we are grateful for the present, we learn to live fully in this moment. If we are grateful for what is yet to come, we nurture faith that life still holds gentleness for us. Let gratitude become the final ritual before sleep. No long prayer is needed, just a simple thought. Today I lived. Today I loved. And today I was grateful. These simple sentences, if repeated each night, become a habit of the soul. A habit that requires no effort, only sincerity. When we are grateful, fears grow lighter. The sense of lack softens its edges, because gratitude is the warm blanket that covers life's imperfections, reminding us that we are still held, even when we forget. And when we close our eyes in that state, sleep is no longer an escape. It becomes a ceremony of peace. Gratitude is the music of the heart. When its chords are swept by the breeze of kindness, gratitude is the music of the heart, played when touched by the breeze of kindness. After each night of writing, each slow breath, and each silent whisper of thanks within the mind, we begin to see these 3 rituals are not separate. They are 3 rhythms of the same symphony, the music of awakened living. Writing is listening, breathing is feeling, gratitude is returning. When we write, we open the door for our thoughts to step out. When we breathe, we keep that door open through presence. And when we are grateful, we look back with a smile, no judgment, no regret, only acceptance. To be calm is the highest achievement of the self. Zen proverb, to remain calm is the highest achievement of the self. Each ritual is like a musical note, and when they harmonize, they form a symphony of serenity. A simple evening can become sacred when done with a wholehearted mind. Imagine this. You sit in the dim light of a small lamp. Before you lies your journal. The air is so still you can hear your own breathing. You write a few lines, slowly without rush. You breathe deeply, letting your words flow with your breath. Then you smile, whispering gently within your heart. Thank you for today. Thank you that I am still here. That alone is already a complete ritual of stillness. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Your vision becomes clear only when you look into your heart. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." These three rituals are three paths leading you back inward, to the place where you no longer need to prove anything, where awareness is no longer effort, but your natural state. Writing brings clarity, breathing brings calm, gratitude brings wholeness. When these three meet, the mind grows light as a cloud. Thoughts that once felt heavy become like smoke dissolving in sunlight. Fears that once weighed down the heart turn into small sparks, illuminating your truest self. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Ram Dass, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. As you practice these three rituals, you'll begin to notice small shifts in how you see the world. You no longer rush while waiting. You no longer fear uncertainty. You no longer chase love to feel complete, because in every breath, every line you write, every moment of gratitude, you are already whole. The Stoics taught that the only thing we can control is our attitude. These three rituals are how we train that attitude, not to control the world, but to choose how we exist within it. Each evening, when you write a few lines, breathe consciously and express gratitude. You are strengthening your capacity for acceptance and understanding. Acceptance that things may not yet be perfect. Understanding that you don't need to be perfect to be at peace. You do not have to be good. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Mary Oliver, you don't have to be good. You only have to let the gentle creature within you love what it loves. These three rituals help you live more in tune with your natural essence. Gentle, still, and sincere. They are not just nightly actions. They gradually become a way of life, a way of living for those who know how to look deeply. Pause and smile even amid chaos. When we keep these three rituals daily, we are rewriting our life's story, and in the ink of stillness. No revolution required, only a small habit. One page, one breath, one thank you. Small daily improvements over time lead to stunning results. Robin Sharma, small daily improvements over time lead to remarkable results. And perhaps the greatest result is this: we no longer search for peace, because peace has become the way we live. When we finish our last line, when the breath grows slow and steady, and when gratitude softly hums in our mind, we realize there is no longer a boundary between ritual and life. Everything merges like gentle waves meeting the shore, then fading into the ocean of stillness. Writing, breathing, and gratitude, three simple acts, seemingly small yet enough to bring us home to our deepest self. Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. Dorothy Hunt. Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. When we write, we no longer hide behind our roles. When we breathe, we no longer wander between past and future. And when we are grateful, we stop searching for anything beyond this moment. If practiced often, these three rituals become as natural as breathing, no longer a new habit, but the instinct of a person who has learned that life itself is a gift. Imagine a quiet evening. The room softly lit, the curtains swaying in a gentle breeze. You write a few simple lines, not for purpose, but to capture your inner rhythm. You breathe deeply, slowly, as if conversing with your soul. Then you whisper a thank you, not to anyone in particular, but to all that is. And in that moment, you touch the sacredness of life, something that has always been here. Whether you notice it or not, the little things. The little moments, they aren't little. John Kabat-Zinn, the little things, the little moments, they aren't little, for they are the heartbeat of existence itself. A drop of water, a breath, a word of thanks. Each is a gentle note in the grand symphony of being alive. When we see beauty in the small things, we no longer need the world to be extraordinary to feel happiness. Peace is no longer a reward. It is the natural state that has always lived within us. We had only forgotten to listen. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Contemplate the beauty of life. Gaze at the stars and see yourself running alongside them." Peace is not the absence of movement, and it is the ability to remain still within the motion of life. Writing helps us pause. Breathing helps us be present. Gratitude helps us smile, even when things are imperfect. And that is when we realize there is no such thing as an ordinary moment. Every moment holds something sacred, if we are slow enough to feel it. Carl Jung once said, "Solitude is for me a fount of healing which makes my life worth living." Solitude, for me, is a wellspring of healing that makes life worth living. These three rituals of stillness, writing, breathing, and gratitude, are the path toward that healthy solitude. Not loneliness, but a vibrant solitude where we truly meet our own soul again. As we walk through these rituals each day, we begin to see that it is not the world that has changed, it is our way of seeing. What once frightened us becomes merely the wind. What once hurt us becomes a teacher. And what once seemed small becomes a quiet source of comfort. The simple things are also the most extraordinary thing, and only the wise can see them. Paulo Coelho let each night become a small ritual of stillness. No elaborate ceremony, but only three things: a page, a breath, a word of thanks, and then let the mind drift gently, quietly, like a sailboat in the night. No direction, no expectation. Because in that moment, we are exactly where we need to be. And as the eyes begin to close, we smile softly and whisper, "I am here. I am calm. I am grateful." That is the end of every ritual and the beginning of sleep, the sleep of someone who has returned home to themselves. Perhaps true wisdom begins when we can pause long enough to look at a leaf, to listen to the rain, or to feel the wind brushing through our hair. In Stoic philosophy, simplicity is not renunciation, that it is a conscious choice. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Very little is needed to live a happy life. It is all within us, in how we see the world. Today, people are so busy that they forget life was never meant to be complicated. We weave our own webs of worry, then find ourselves trapped inside them. The more we have, the more we fear losing. The faster we run, the more we leave behind the most precious things: peace, mindfulness, and the ability to savor each moment. For the Stoics, simplicity is the highest form of wisdom, because the simple person understands what enough truly means. They do not need to prove, to boast, or to chase the world's noise. They choose to live lightly so the mind has room to rest. He who is contented is rich. Lao Tzu, he who is content is truly rich. Simplicity does not mean lack. It means having enough and knowing it is enough. A quiet room, a warm cup of water, a deep night's sleep. These may be the greatest luxuries in our noisy age. When we learn to live slowly, We begin to feel life's true rhythm, a rhythm much like that of nature, unhurried, unforced, moving in its own time. Nature never rushes. Spring does not demand to come early. Autumn does not cling to stay longer. Everything changes, circles, flows, yet within each moment there is perfect completeness. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Lao Tzu, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. When we observe nature, we see ourselves like a river, sometimes rushing, sometimes still. But whether fast or slow, it always finds its way to the sea. So it is with life, sometimes noisy, sometimes quiet. But every part of it leads us toward deeper understanding of who we are. The Stoics taught that to live according to nature does not mean to withdraw from the world, but to move in harmony with its laws, not forcing, not resisting, simply observing and accepting. Because everything in the universe has its own timing, perhaps that is why those who live close to nature seem more at peace. They have learned the art of patience. Like the tree that grows steadily, like the flower that blooms in its own season. They know that stillness is not stagnation, but a profound form of movement. When we look closely at nature, we realize nothing tries to be beautiful till it simply is, and because of that, it is perfect. That is what we have forgotten. We strive to be more, when simply being true is already enough. Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. Albert Einstein, look deeply into nature, and you will understand everything better. In nature, there is no division between birth and death, gain and loss. Everything moves in quiet cycles. Even the falling leaf carries within it a lesson on impermanence. And within impermanence, we learn the art of letting go, to hold on to nothing, to resist nothing, to live fully in this very breath. Like wind, like rain, like earth, like sky, everything flows, nothing stands still. Heraclitus, everything flows, nothing stands still. If we move slowly enough to feel nature's rhythm, we'll see that we too are part of that same flow, not separate, not alone. And then simplicity stops being a choice. It becomes the natural instinct of a peaceful soul. If we sit quietly in nature, even for a few minutes, we begin to realize everything is teaching us something. It's just that we are often too busy, too noisy to listen. The wind teaches freedom. It belongs nowhere, holds nothing, yet touches everything. It passes through forests, cities, and seas, never asking, am I going the right way? It simply moves, and in that movement, it exists completely. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Lao Tzu let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. When we live like the wind, without clinging, without fear of loss, we begin to understand what true freedom means. Not freedom because we have everything, but freedom because we need to hold on to nothing. Water teaches us flexibility. It has no fixed shape, yet it can take the shape of anything. It can be as soft as rain or as powerful as a wave. And even when it falls into deep valleys, it still finds its way back to the ocean. Nothing is softer or more flexible than water, yet nothing can resist it. Lao Tzu, nothing is softer or more flexible than water, yet nothing can resist it. In water, we see ourselves. When we learn to yield, we become strong. When we learn to step back, we endure. When we learn to release, we are renewed. Simplicity is nothing more than not resisting the natural rhythm of life. The tree teaches steadfastness. It stands through storm, not from ignorance, but from faith that the storm will pass. Each fallen leaf is not a tragedy. It is preparation for a new season. What is lost is not an ending, but a beginning. Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. Rumi, be like a tree. and let the dead leaves fall. From the tree we learn the lesson of letting go. We cannot carry what is old and expect our spirit to remain light. Just as a tree must shed its leaves, we too must release the memories that have served their purpose. And the mountain, the teacher of stillness. The mountain speaks nothing, yet all who look upon it feel small. Not because it is tall, but because within its silence lies a strength that needs no display. In stillness, the world resets itself. In stillness, the world resets itself. The mountain teaches us that true power never needs noise. The wiser a person becomes, the less they speak. The more peaceful they are, the less they feel the need to prove. Like a peak veiled in clouds, it does not try to grow taller, and yet all eyes turn toward it. Nature is the greatest teacher, for it never instructs with words, but with presence. It does not judge, it does not explain, it simply is, living fully in its role. And if we are still enough to observe, we will hear that every rain, every bird, every flower whispers a philosophy of life. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Learn to move at nature's pace. Her secret is patience. In the modern world, humans want everything to arrive quickly. Results, success, love, peace. But nature teaches the opposite. All things beautiful take time. A seed cannot bloom overnight. A soul cannot find peace in a single hour of meditation. When we learn patience from nature, we stop comparing, stop rushing, because we understand everything has its own season.
And all we must do is nurture, wait, and trust. To live with nature is to live with truth that you cannot hurry it, you cannot fake it.
That is why those who spend time in nature often find their hearts softening. They begin to speak more quietly, breathe more slowly, see more clearly,
and smile at the simplest things. And in that very moment, when we stop trying to be the center of the universe,
and instead dissolve gently into all that exists, we touch what Stoic philosophy calls ataraxia, a state of deep inner tranquility. Humans often think happiness lies in adding more wealth, more achievements, more affection. But nature teaches the opposite. Everything becomes beautiful when we begin to subtract. The sky is clear only when the clouds part. Water reflects only when the surface is still. And the mind finds peace only when it stops seeking. The less you desire, the richer you become. Seneca, the less you desire, the richer you become. For the Stoics, simplicity was not merely a lifestyle, instead it was a philosophical attitude. Not because they could not have more, but because they understood that having less means needing less. When our needs shrink, the space within us expands. And in that space, peace begins to grow. Today, we live among endless noise, sounds, images, information, expectations. We are constantly pulled away from ourselves by endless conversations, by the phone that never sleeps, by the comparisons that never stop on social media. And slowly, we forget what it feels like to be still. To live simply does not mean to abandon the world. It means to choose how we participate in it. It is knowing when to say no to what does not nourish the soul. It is choosing silence over argument. It is spending an evening watching the moon instead of scrolling through a glowing screen. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca, it is not the man who has too little, but the one who craves more, who is poor. In simplicity, everything gains meaning. A humble meal tastes richer. An honest conversation feels rarer. A quiet evening becomes a luxury we once overlooked. Simplicity does not make life smaller. It makes life deeper. When we stop being obsessed with accumulation, we gain the time to feel. When we stop being ruled by the need to have, we rediscover what it means to be. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Leonardo da Vinci. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Simplicity in action. Simplicity in words. Simplicity in emotion, and not overanalyzing joy, not dramatizing sorrow. Sometimes all we need is to breathe, to sit, to smile, and that is enough. We cannot control the world, but we can control how much we allow into our minds. Like a gardener pruning branches so sunlight reaches the roots, we must also prune what is unnecessary so that peace may shine through within us. When we live simply, we no longer fear loss, because we understand that nothing truly belongs to us. Even this body is borrowed from the earth and sky. We begin to cherish everything precisely because we know nothing lasts forever. Everything you own
owns a piece of you. Chuck Palahniuk, everything you own owns a piece of you. That is why the more we possess, the heavier our mind becomes.
And conversely, when we learn to release, we grow lighter, not just in our homes, but in our hearts. Someone once asked, "How do I begin to live simply?" The answer is gentle. Begin by pausing. Pause before buying more. Pause before speaking what need not be said. Pause to breathe, to look, to ask, does this truly serve my peace? Simplicity does not arrive in a single day. It comes from thousands of small choices, each time we choose calm over haste, truth over glitter, depth over width. And one day, when we look back, we realize we have lost nothing at all. We have merely reclaimed the space to live authentically. The things you own end up owning you. It's only after you lose everything that you're free to do anything. Fight Club. Perhaps only when we let go do we finally have everything. For peace is not found in adding more, but in letting go. If we observe closely enough, we realize nature is not only around us, it is within us. Every heartbeat, every breath, every cycle of emotion echoes the laws of the universe. When we are angry, we are the storm. When we are anxious, we are the whirlpool. When we are peaceful, we are the still lake reflecting the sky. The way we feel the world is no different from the way nature moves. We have only forgotten that we belong to it. Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. Albert Einstein, look deeply into nature, and you will understand everything better. We cannot detach from nature and still hope for peace. We are born from the earth, we breathe the air, we drink from its rivers, and in the end, we return to the soil. This body is but a temporary piece of land that the soul inhabits. And only when we live in harmony with nature's rhythm can we rediscover the natural harmony of our spirit. When we look up at the sky and see clouds come and go, we learn the lesson of impermanence. Nothing lasts forever, yet nothing truly disappears. Everything merely changes form. Water becomes cloud, cloud becomes rain, rain becomes earth. So too with our emotions. They come, they go, and leave behind traces that nourish our growth. Nothing in nature blooms all year. Nothing in nature blooms all year, and no one can be happy or sad forever. Everything has its seasons, even our moods. When we understand this, we stop demanding that life always be easy. We stop blaming ourselves for being fragile. We learn to see things simply as they are, no more, no less. Socrates once said, "He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. He who is not content with what he has will never be content with anything. Nature never compares. The tree does not envy the flower. The river does not compete with the mountain. Each does its own work beautifully, and so all things coexist in peace. If humanity lived this way, doing well what is ours to do, cherishing what we already have, the world would be far quieter. when the flower blooms, the bees come uninvited. Ramakrishna, when the flower blooms, the bees come uninvited. Likewise, when we find inner peace, all good things naturally find their way to us. Nature teaches us the art of non-forcing. Everything has its own timing. A seed cannot bloom faster just because we wish it to. Autumn cannot arrive earlier just because we call for it. The universe has its own schedule, and everything within it is always on time. So it is with life. What has not yet come is not a sign of unworthiness. It is simply not yet its season. And sometimes, all we need is the patience of the earth waiting for rain. Then what we seek begins to appear, gently, naturally, without force. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. Ralph Waldo Emerson, walk in the rhythm of nature. Her secret is patience. When we walk among trees, our breathing slows. Every sense awakens. The eyes see, the ears hear. The nose takes in the scent of rain-washed soil. It is more than a physical experience. It is a sacred ritual of reconnection, a moment in which we touch the deepest part of our being. The Stoics believed that true wisdom comes only when one lives in harmony with nature. For nature is the purest expression of logos, the rational order of the universe. To live against nature is to live in resistance, and resistance is the root of suffering. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Marcus Aurelius, the universe is change. Our life is shaped by our thoughts. Nature reminds us, instead of trying to control everything, we only need to flow with what is. For everything is unfolding exactly as it should, not too fast, not too slow, not more, not less, perfectly enough. And in the moment we accept that, the nature outside and the nature within become one. We cease to be mere observers and become part of the living whole. You are not in the universe, you are the universe, an intrinsic part of it. Eckhart Tolle, you are not in the universe, you are the universe, an inseparable part of it, to the noise of the world. After witnessing the constant change in ourselves and in life, there comes a time when we simply long to return, not to escape, but to remember, not to forget, but to recall that we have always belonged to the earth, never lost, never apart. In every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks. John Muir, in every walk with nature, one receives far more than one seeks. Nature never rushes us. It never asks us to be better, greater, or happier. It only whispers softly, "You may stop now." Everything is already enough. When we step into the forest and hear leaves falling, we learn the lesson of release.
Leaves do not regret leaving the branch.
The wind does not cling to the clouds. All things depart gently, for they understand that letting go is part of life. The earth has music for those who listen. George Santayana. The earth has its own music for those who know how to listen, and if we are still enough, we begin to hear it by the sound of wind, of birds,
Of rain, and all of it the heartbeat of the universe.
They are not noises outside us, but tender reminders from within that we are alive and held in the embrace of something greater than ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Everything harmonizes with me, which is harmonious to you, O universe. Everything that is in harmony with you, O universe,
Is in harmony with me." The harmony he spoke of is not an external order, but an inner one.
When our mind beats in rhythm with nature, everything naturally finds its place. As water returns to the sea,
As the moon waxes and wanes. When we look at the world with still eyes,
we begin to see beauty everywhere, in a droplet of dew resting on a leaf, in the shadow of a tree on a wall, in the rhythm of rain tapping on a roof. Nothing is ordinary anymore, for everything is alive, breathing, teaching us presence. To forget how to dig the earth and to tend the soil is to forget ourselves. Mahatma Gandhi. To forget how to care for the earth is to forget who we are. So, return to nature, not only with your feet, but with your soul. Let your hands touch the soil, your skin feel the sunlight, your breath mingle with the wind. Each time you do, you heal yourself by returning to your roots. Nature's simplicity needs no defense. It simply is, and in that isness lies profound wisdom. The tree does not ask, "Am I beautiful?" Yet it blooms in season. The moon does not strive to shine brighter, yet it softens the night. Nature does not try to become anything because it already is, but that is the essence of enlightenment. The goal of life is living in agreement with nature. Zeno of Citiamis. Goal of life is to live in harmony with nature. To live according to nature does not mean retreating to the forest or abandoning the city, but carrying the soul of nature into every small act. Eating more slowly, speaking less, breathing deeper, seeing more clearly. That is how we live like earth, like water, like wind, like light. When we live that way, the world is no longer something to conquer, but a companion, silent, patient, kind. Then we understand. Simplicity is not the absence of things. It is the fullness of someone who knows what is enough. At night, lying still, hearing the soft wind slip through the cracks of the door. We need no music, no prayer, only the lullaby of the earth itself to carry us into sleep. When I rest in the silence of nature, I remember who I am. When I rest in the silence of nature, I remember who I am, and so in the tender quiet of the night, we realize it is not that we are in nature, we are nature, resting in human form. There were times in life when we believed strength came from constant striving, that only by working late, doing more, enduring more, we could earn our worth. But the farther we walked that path, the clearer it became. A weary mind cannot be wise, and a tired heart cannot love. Rest is not weakness. It is discipline. It takes courage to stop, to set down the burdens we once believed were impossible to let go. Rest is not idleness. John Lubbock, rest is not idleness. In Stoic philosophy,
rest is a ritual of reordering the soul, not an escape from the world,
but a quiet act of clearing the inner room that has been cluttered by worry, noise, and thought. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "People seek retreats for themselves, in the country, by the sea, in the hills, but nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." People seek retreats in the countryside, by the sea, in the mountains, but nowhere can one find a quieter refuge than within one's own soul. For the Stoics, sleep was not merely a biological need, it was a ritual of wisdom, a moment to release what cannot be controlled, to prepare for tomorrow with a calm and steady heart. Rest as discipline. Rest as discipline. Discipline, in this sense, is not about force. It is the conscious choice to be still, the choice to close the day, to recharge the mind, the choice to let go at the right time so that the fire within us does not burn out. Rest is an essential part of strength, for only when we step back can we see the whole picture. Only when we stop can we hear the voice within. In the quiet of the night, imagine the mind as water. All day we've stirred it, with thoughts, with worries, with plans. But when we lie down, take a deep breath and whisper, "It's done. Now it's time to rest." The water begins to settle, clear, calm, and bright. We need to rest, not because we are weak, but because we are human. We need rest, not because we are weak, but because we are human. Humans were never made to keep running. The body needs sleep, the mind needs stillness, and the soul needs space. For if we keep walking without pause, one day we'll no longer know where we are headed. The Stoics believed that in sleep, the mind is renewed. Thoughts are rearranged, memories cleansed, emotions soothed. Modern science calls this the neural reset, the brain's natural reorganization. But the ancient philosophers already understood sleep is a form of meditation. Sleep is the best meditation. Dalai Lama's sleep is not merely stopping, it is returning to the purest state of mind, where there is no past, no future, only the present and the rhythm of breath. Before sleep, try a small ritual. Write down what has weighed on your heart. Breathe deeply a few times, letting it drift away, and finally whisper a word of gratitude. That is not only preparation for sleep, it is preparation for peace. The best bridge between despair and hope is a good night's sleep. E. Joseph Kosman. The bridge between despair and hope is a good night's sleep. When we allow ourselves to rest, we send a message to our soul. I deserve this peace. Not after finishing everything, but now, in the midst of the unfinished, the messy, because no moment is more right for peace than the present one. Rest is an art. It requires acceptance that the world can continue without our control. It requires trust that life keeps its rhythm even while we sleep. And it requires humility to admit that we cannot be strong forever. Even the sun has to rest for the moon to shine. Even the sun must rest for the moon to shine. When we close our eyes, we do not disappear from the world. We simply hand it back to the universe for one night, trusting it to run things in our stead. That is an act of faith, of wisdom, and of surrender, but a conscious surrender. Let go of all efforts, all questions, all regrets. Let there be only breath. Let the body loosen, the mind melt into the gentle dark. And in that moment we realize rest is not an ending, but a beginning. The beginning of renewal, of morning, of a new version of ourselves. Rest and be thankful. William Wordsworth, rest and be thankful. Let tonight's sleep be a ritual of restoration. Let your body and mind be held in the arms of stillness, not to escape yesterday, but to greet tomorrow with a lighter heart. And as the eyes close, a quiet voice rises from within. It's okay to stop now. You've done enough. You can rest. Memento mori, remember you will die. Not to fear, but to live fully. In Stoic philosophy, death is not an end. It is the silent teacher reminding us of the value in every breath. Impermanence is not tragedy. It is the foundation of gratitude. For if everything lasted forever, nothing would be precious. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years.
Death hangs over you.
While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Marcus Aurelius, do not live as though you were destined to live forever. Death is always near. A reminder that while we live, while we can, we must live well. When we look directly at impermanence, fear begins to fade. We realize that everything passes, joy as well as sorrow. And precisely because of that, every fleeting moment becomes sacred. No one can hold on to yesterday, and no one truly knows tomorrow.
All we ever have is this moment, this breath, this night. The trouble is you think you have time. Buddha, the trouble is we think we have time.
But in truth there is no someday, only today. And in this now peace lives. Impermanence does not come to take away. It comes to give back.
It gives us the truth that we do not need to control life to make it meaningful.
We only need to be present with gratitude and awareness. He who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave. Seneca, He who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave. For death, once accepted, frees us from fear. Death is not the opposite of life. It is a part of it, as night belongs with day, as the moon moves with the sun. Because of death, we cherish mornings more. Because of endings, we learn to love more deeply. And if each night we could go to sleep as if practicing a small death, releasing all that is unfinished, all exhaustion, all control, then each morning we would awaken reborn. To die every day to what is not essential, that is wisdom. To let die each day what is not essential, that is wisdom. When we truly understand impermanence, we stop fearing loss. We know that what is meant for us will return in its own time, and what leaves has already fulfilled its purpose. Everything moves according to a perfect order we cannot see, but can trust. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? Marcus Aurelius, accept what comes to you as part of the pattern of destiny, for nothing arrives without meaning. In the moment we release our need to control, we touch true strength, the strength of acceptance. Not surrender, but awareness, to let come what comes, to let go what goes, and to remain ourselves. Calm, complete. Impermanence does not make life fragile. It makes life worth living. Because when we know nothing lasts forever, we love more freely, forgive more easily, and cherish more deeply. Every morning becomes a gift. Every person we meet becomes a chance to offer love. Every night's sleep becomes a journey home to peace. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. But also remember, you are alive. And right there, between the awareness of ending and the gratitude for existing, we find the deepest peace. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. True strength does not lie in mastering the world, but in being able to let go and still smile. Let impermanence be your gentle teacher, so that when leaves fall, you do not feel sorrow, but see in them the quiet sign of a new season. So that when night comes, you do not fear the dark, but understand that somewhere dawn is already being prepared. If you are hearing these words, perhaps tonight you cannot sleep.
And that's okay. Tonight you don't need to try to sleep.
You only need to rest and to be at ease. You are not alone.
Even emperors, even philosophers have stared into the same darkness. You are not alone.
Even emperors, even philosophers have looked into this same darkness and asked themselves the same questions. Perhaps sleep is not something to be found, but something that arrives when we stop searching for it. Peace is the same, so right now, let your breath slow. Let your mind gently release. Do not think about tomorrow. Do not fix anything anymore. Everything can wait until morning. Tonight, there is only you, and the voice of your own soul, whispering softly in the silence. Everything is okay. You can rest now. Closing of the series. Stoic nights between silence and thought. A philosophical monologue,
moving with the rhythm of breath and moonlight.
Sent to restless souls as a lullaby of reason in the middle of the night. Peace is not far away. It is here, in this very moment, when you pause, breathe, and listen to yourself. Lucid dream, sleep and science. Stories, where silence speaks and the mind finds peace.